Hi, so in this video I take the Tesla Model Y for a test drive, and what I'm really looking for is how the car responds to both the driving and indeed the weight of the car. First impressions, I like the way the steering feels. That beefy feel really makes driving quite confident. You get the sense that you're actually in control of the car, and the stiffness in that steering really makes you sort of get the sense that it's not a car that you can throw about that easily, and yet it's very agile in the way it actually responds to any steering input. I pretty much like that very well, and in comparison to other cars, the fact that it's got that weight about it really makes the driving really pleasurable. A couple of things that came to my mind whilst I was driving, again trying to compare it with the Model 3 as well as the Xiaopeng P7, is the way the car will more or less handle the torque, and then indeed the capability to equally brake in time. Fortunately, there are quite a number of videos on YouTube that do a lot better work at trying to showcase, for instance, the 0 to 60 acceleration, or indeed the braking power of the car. So really, I'm not going to do that here. The idea of this test was really to get a sense of how it compares with the Model 3, and then also to the Xiaopeng P7. Now this is the long range version, and I think I was told that it's been fitted, or it's been loaded with the performance boost update. I'm not too sure whether that's true, whether that's offered within China, but the car's ability to respond to your acceleration input is fantastic. I cannot compare it with the P7. I can just say that whilst the P7 from Xiaopeng equally has a very torquey response, especially given that I've basically tested both the Xiaopeng P7 long range high version as well as the performance version. It's almost comparable, unless you're really finicky for the exact seconds that's taken. You get plenty of torque in these electric cars, and that really makes the driving experience quite unique. So in this video, I'm really throwing it around the highway to see how it reacts to me, especially looking at the some of those instantaneous request for power. A couple of other features that I was trying to test was the lane departure, or the lane warning when you're actually departing a couple of these lane markings. And I like the way the implementation is within Tesla compared to other cars, especially the Xiaopeng, which would shake vigorously when you actually try to depart a lane whilst the feature is on. I wish Xiaopeng can learn from the way it's implemented in Tesla. especially the very subtle nature of it. It's not jerky, and you don't get a sort of a panic reaction, which really is thoughtful, from the way Tesla has implemented that feature. So on the return leg on the highway, I tried to equally test the what you call the autopilot, which really is the assisted driving. It was a short distance test. Also the experience on the Model Y, which I believe is comparable to the Model 3 as well as the Model S, was equally very pleasant. I didn't get any of those very abrupt acceleration, or indeed abrupt sort of deceleration, which was quite common, or which is pretty common in my P7. Now I think somewhere along this moment, I was really excited about the way the car was actually very solid. I've heard a lot of complaints about road noise, which really is not obvious in the version I was driving. So at this point I turned on the actual pilot, which you actually, this is lane centering. It's not really a pilot because we've not added any sort of destination, but it was pretty interesting how the car would really handle the different lanes, because you'd notice that a couple of those lanes are actually not well marked, or in some cases you see the multiple markings. But of course, this is an area that Tesla is pretty much a guru in being able to identify the right markings and then essentially maneuver the car within that lane. And it kept pretty well. Had a couple of scenarios where folks were cutting in, and the car would not really sort of like grind to a halt before taking off. It would pretty much be able to preempt the car coming in, cutting in, and then equally gauge the speed at which the car was actually moving in order to manage the experience in a comfortable way. So I liked that really very much. And indeed the cornering capability of the car was equally fantastic. Again, this is an area that the weight distribution of the car makes it actually have that advantage over the competition. Again, you've got to give it to Tesla in this case that they're very thoughtful about first and foremost the car's safety, and then indeed performance are all very well thought about. So you certainly do feel that you're actually having a sort of capable machine in your hands. You don't need to think too much or bother too much about some of those cautionary maneuvers that you would perhaps have when you typically drive in typically, for instance, a Chinese car, because sometimes the shortcuts that are taken with some of those manufacturers out there can be scary. Knowing that Tesla pretty much brings that same level of quality check and indeed manufacturing finesse to the China factory is sort of is assuring, really assuring, and I really have loved the way the car drives. Part of the reason I ended up wanting to right away place that order. Yeah, so it is really an enjoyable driving experience, and it's something that certainly is unique compared to the Xpeng implementation. I think the two cars are unique in their own ways, especially if I do the comparison with this Model Y. And the same, is noticeable with the Model 3 comparison. These are different cars on different drivetrains, borrowing different concepts in their implementation of tech. So, whilst it's sort of nice and interesting, perhaps even sometimes a way to whip up some form of argument or heated debate on these two cars. These are completely two different machines altogether, and the Xpeng implementation can equally be considered very fantastic, because when I use the Xpeng on these highways, I do enjoy the way it pulls. It really hugs the road pretty well. And the confidence with the fact that it can respond to you whenever you need it is equally very lovely. I just hope that a couple of those little concerns that I've got with the Xpeng is, for instance, some of the safety implementation. For instance, when the car senses you're driving in an aggressive mode, it sort of tries to set up the braking system or prepare the braking system to be able to respond to any emergency sort of braking. And when that is triggered, there is a loud noise that you hear in the two, steering or the two tires in front on the left and right. That can be really annoying, sometimes actually quite scary, because it's a very loud motor grinding noise which you hear from the cabin. I'm not too sure whether it's heard outside the cabin itself or on the road, but that kind of feeling really, I think that Xpeng should try to resolve. My understanding is that with the next update that could be addressed, and that would really sort of avoid that scary jolt that you get when you're trying to do very dynamic maneuvering. I think that really sums it all up with regards to my experience of the Model Y. I am sure that lots of you would be able to get a much more in-depth, or what you'd call the review type YouTube videos, to get a sense of some of the different technicalities and of course viewpoints regarding how the car performs. But all in all, it is a really great car. For an SUV, I feel that it's a good buy, and I'm certainly banking on getting it soon. Unfortunately, the performance version is not one that I could have just picked up in a short time span of say 2 weeks, which was going to be the case if I had acquired the Model 3. But I've been told that at least in close to 4 months maximum, I should be able to get it in the showroom in order to pick it up. So these are my thoughts, random thoughts regarding that quick test drive of the Model Y. And comparing it to the Model 3 as well as the Xpeng P7, I think that these are all different cars completely. Of course, the interior of the Model Y is similar to what you would find in the Model 3. That clean interior, only one center console for both your driver info as well as infotainment. But most unique thing that you'd actually consider noticeable in the Model Y and the Model 3 is particularly the steering feel. That is a unique sort of experience that will never leave your mind after you've left a Tesla. I don't think I've seen any other car that has that level of beefy feel in the steering wheel itself. So yeah, you've got to give it to Tesla team in this case, with ensuring that there was a uniqueness by way of how this car feels and the other cars equally feel in the driver's hand. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening to my rant. Hope to bring you another video soon. Bye bye.